It started like something harmless, a child talking to someone no one else could see. At first, it felt normal, just an imaginary friend, something kids do all the time. But slowly, the tone began to change. The conversations weren't playful anymore. The reactions became uneasy, then fearful. He wasn't just playing, he was responding, saying things like, "Leave me alone," and he won't stop. And then one night, something happened that didn't make sense, something that couldn't be explained away as imagination, because what was supposed to be invisible started affecting the real world. It began quietly, in a way that didn't raise concern at first. The older brother would spend time playing by himself, talking as if someone else was there with him. It wasn't unusual. Kids often create imaginary friends, giving them names, personalities, and treating them like real companions. To anyone watching, that's exactly what it looked like. He would laugh, speak, and interact as though another child was right beside him. But there were moments when it didn't feel so harmless. Every now and then, his tone would change. The conversations would shift from playful to tense. Instead of laughing, he would get irritated. Instead of enjoying the company, he would start pushing back, telling this imaginary brother to stop, telling him to leave him alone, sometimes even refusing to go somewhere, saying he didn't want to go to his room to play. From the outside, it still looked like imagination. His mother would ask what was going on, trying to understand who he was talking to, and he would always give the same answer. "He won't leave me alone." It sounded like a child getting carried away in his own world, something that would pass with time. So it wasn't taken seriously, but the consistency of it was hard to ignore. It wasn't just a one-time thing. It kept happening. The same reactions, the same frustration, the same refusal to engage. It didn't feel like a game that he could stop whenever he wanted. It felt like something that continued whether he liked it or not. And that's what made it different. Because imaginary friends usually follow the child's control. They appear when the child wants them to. They disappear when the child loses interest. But this didn't seem like that. This felt like something that stayed, even when it wasn't welcome. And slowly, without anyone realizing it yet, the situation was already beginning to shift into something else entirely. The change didn't happen all at once. It built slowly, almost quietly, in a way that made it easy to overlook at first. The older brother still spoke to his imaginary brother like before, still reacted as if someone was standing right there beside him. But the tone of those interactions began to shift. What once sounded like playful conversation started turning into something heavier, something more uncomfortable. There were more moments where he seemed bothered, more times where he would suddenly stop what he was doing and respond to something no one else could hear. He would tell it to stop, tell it to go away. Sometimes his voice carried a kind of frustration that didn't match the idea of a child simply playing pretend. Other times, it sounded like genuine fear, like he was reacting to something he didn't understand. His mother noticed the change, but not in the way it would later matter. To her, it still fit into the idea of childhood imagination. Kids say strange things, act out different roles, create stories in their heads. It was easier to explain it that way than to question it any further. So she would ask what was going on, try to reassure him, and then move on, expecting it to fade like most childhood phases do. But it didn't fade. If anything, it became more persistent. The imaginary brother wasn't just appearing during playtime anymore. It seemed to be there at random moments, interrupting normal activities. The older brother would react without warning, as if something had suddenly caught his attention. He would look toward empty spaces, respond directly, and then grow quiet again, like he was listening, and the things he said started to repeat. "He won't leave me alone." That line came up more than once, not in a playful tone, not as part of a game, but as a complaint. Something he genuinely seemed to be dealing with. It suggested something constant, something that didn't go away when ignored. That was the part that didn't fit the usual pattern of an imaginary friend. The moment everything shifted happened late at night, when the house had already settled into silence. It was sometime around 10 or 11 p.m., the kind of quiet where even small sounds feel louder than they should. The decorations from the birthday were still around, balloons hanging in place, leftovers from a normal day that hadn't suggested anything unusual was coming. Then the noise broke through. Sharp, sudden popping sounds echoed through the house. Not one, but multiple. Enough to immediately get attention. It wasn't subtle, and it wasn't something that could be ignored. His mother heard it and reacted right away, heading toward the source without hesitation. When she got there, she found him standing near the balloons. He didn't look confused. He didn't look like he had just made a mistake. He looked scared. That was the first thing that stood out. When she asked what had happened, the question was simple. Had he popped them? It was the most obvious explanation, but his response came just as quickly and without hesitation. He said it wasn't him. He pointed, not toward anything visible, but toward the same presence he had been talking about all along. The same imaginary brother that had been part of everything leading up to this moment. But this time, the situation didn't match the explanation anymore. Because there was something else there, a knife. Up until that point, everything could still be explained as imagination. Unusual, maybe concerning, but still within the range of normal behavior. But now there was something physical involved, and for the first time, his mother didn't treat it like imagination anymore, because whatever had been dismissed before was now affecting something real, and that's where the uncertainty turned into something else entirely. Her voice changed. It wasn't calm and it wasn't questioning anymore. It was direct. She told it to leave, loudly, clearly, not speaking to her son, but to whatever he had been pointing at all along. It was the first time anyone had acknowledged it as something separate from him, something that could actually be addressed. For a moment, everything went still. Around 10 to 15 minutes later, the situation shifted again. Other family members arrived at the house, unaware of what had just happened. Among them was a cousin, someone who had no context for the earlier events, no reason to expect anything unusual. And that's when something was seen, not imagined, not described by a child. At the front door, there was a woman. She was dressed in all white, standing there with her hair covering her face. The cousin had seen her clearly enough to describe her, but no one inside had invited anyone like that in. No one knew who she was. And almost immediately, the situation became even more unsettling, because this time, it wasn't just the little boy claiming to see something. Someone else had seen it too. When they asked him about the woman, he didn't act confused. He didn't deny it. He simply said that she was his mum, not his real mother standing in the house, but the mother of the imaginary brother. Imagine the same presence that had been bothering him, the same one his own mother had just ordered to leave. And according to him, she wasn't gone. She was still there. Even worse, she was mad. That was when the fear came back stronger than before. His mother had already faced something she couldn't see once that night. Now there was another presence connected to it, one that someone else had actually seen standing at the door. So she reacted the only way she could. She yelled again, telling it to get out, forcing whatever was there to leave the house. Then she turned back to her son and asked if the woman was still there. He said no. And just like that, the night became quiet again. He says he still sometimes sees him in the mirror. What makes this story unsettling isn't just what happened that night. It's how it began, and how it never fully ended. At first, everything followed a pattern that felt familiar. A child talking to someone no one else could see. Something most people would explain away without thinking twice. It was easy to dismiss, easy to believe it would pass like every other childhood phase. Years have passed since that night. The house moved on, life continued, but the experience didn't stay in the past. Because even now, long after everything should have faded into memory, there are still moments where it comes back. Not in the same way, not as intense, but still there, seen in a mirror, just for a moment. And that's what makes it linger. Not the fear from that night, but the idea that whatever it was never truly disappeared.